everybody, my name is Natalie and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make this flared shrug. I love adding these bell sleeves or flare sleeves to my crochet pieces. I think that it makes it look so whimsical and elegant and dainty and all of those beautiful things. So if you're interested in learning how to create this, continue watching. The shrug that I'm going to be making today, I'm using Loops and Threads Facets yarn. I love this brand of yarn. Most of the Loops and Thread yarn is good for making shrugs. This one that I made, I think, is out of Karen Silky Smooth or something like that. You want to use any thin yarn, anything that's not going to make it too stiff. If you use too high of a weight of a yarn, then that's just going to make it way too stiff. It's not going to be flowy and it won't give the vibe that you're looking for. I recommend a yarn like this, the Loops and Threads cotton and cream yarn. I also have used for a ton of shrugs and I love how those turn out. If you have questions about what yarn to use, drop it in the comments and I'll get back to you. So this is a weight 4 yarn and I'm going to be using a 5mm hook. All right, so to start, I'm going to create a slip knot, put it on my hook, and I'm going to chain an amount that reaches from here to here. So for me, I always do 70 chains, but you can figure out how many chains to do by just chaining up and then measuring it and seeing if it lays from this shoulder to this shoulder. Now that I've chained up 70, I'm going to prepare for a double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over and then I'm going to count 5 chains from my hook. So this is the chain that's on my hook. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I've yarned over and I'm going to place my hook into that 5th chain from the hook. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through. So I just created a double crochet. And this is our first mesh stitch. So I'm going to be chaining 2. So I chain 2, prepare for another double crochet, and I'm going to skip the first 2 stitches. So this is 1, 2, and double crochet into the 3rd. Chain 2, again skipping 2 stitches, 1, 2, and into the 3rd, chain 2, again skipping 2 stitches and into the 3rd, and we're going to continue on this way until we get to the end of the row. I'm about to do my last double crochet of row 1. So I chain up 2, and usually we skip 2, but I only have 2 left, so I'm just going to make do with what I have. It's not going to make a big difference. If that happens to you, it's okay. To avoid that happening, if you want it to be perfect, then you have to do a multiple of 3. I don't know why I didn't think of that before, but for the authenticity factor, I'm gonna leave it. So we chain up 5 to begin row 2, 4, 5, and turn the work. And now I'm going to be placing a double crochet into this first chain 2 space from the previous row. And then I'm going to chain 2 and do another double crochet into the next chain 2 space. Chain 2 and double crochet, you're going to continue double crocheting into the chain 2 spaces. Make sure you chain 2 in between each double crochet. To finish off this row, I now have just 1 little square left, so I'm going to chain 2 and just put a double crochet into that space. So it looks like this. And then I'm going to chain 5, turn my work, and repeat the same thing over again. So again, double crochet into each space with a chain 2 in between. All right, so I have 3 rows done, and we're going to continue repeating the steps for these rows until we get to a length that you're going to be happy with for this part. So for me, this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows, but I did this one with a treble crochet. We're doing this with a double crochet. So usually I do around 11 rows, I think, but when I finish it, I will let you know. You want it to be a good length that's going to be able to reach from the top of your shoulder down to like the center of your armpit. And then we're going to repeat that for the back, but before we get ahead of ourselves, let's make this front panel. I have done 11 rows and I'm going to stop here because this is perfect. It reaches from the top of my shoulder to around my armpit. Let me show you how we start the back panel. The back panel starts the same as every other row with a chain 5, turn your work, and I'm going to place a double crochet into this first one, just like how we started every other row. Another double crochet, chain 2, another double crochet, and then this is going to be my last double crochet for a little bit. So I have 4 new squares, and I'm going to grab a stitch marker. I'm going to go to the other side and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to put my stitch marker into the 5th. So now I'm going to count the distance between where I've put my stitch marker and my last double crochet. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So then I'm going to multiply 14 times 3. And 14 times 3 is 42. So I'm going to chain up 42 chains. So I've done my 42 chains. Yarn over to do a double crochet, and I like to kind of just hold it with my thumb. Just hold it in place. And then I'm gonna go to this stitch here with the stitch marker and place my hook in and complete the double crochet in this stitch. So it can be a little bit tricky just because of the way that you're connecting it, but it should end looking like this. So you now have this hole for your neck. So your amount of chains might be different than mine based on the size that you made yours, but just remember to count the amount of squares you have and then multiply that by 3. The reason you multiply it by 3 is because there are 3 stitches in here, the chain 2, and then the actual stitch. So that's how we get that. And then to finish off the row, let me take out my marker. Right. To finish off the row, we're just going to do it the same as we have been. Chain 2, double crochet. This is what the row is looking like. Again, starting the same way that we usually do, chaining 5, turning the work, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, so this is where it starts to get slightly different. So we don't have any squares to go into, so it's the same as we did at the very beginning when we made our first row of the mesh stitch. So I chain 2, yarn over, and I'm going to count 1, 2, and place a double crochet into the third. Chain 2 and count 1, 2, and double crochet into the third. Chain 2, skip, 1, 2, double crochet into the third. Chain 2, 1, 2, into the third. We're just going to continue on like that. I've gone all the way across this neckline, and then I'm going to chain 2 and then place a double crochet into this chain 2 space right here. And I'm going to finish out the row as usual, chaining 2, double crochet, oops. So now I'm going to continue completing my rows as normal until I get the same amount as my back panel, which is 11. I now have equal amount of rows on both sides, and now we're going to start working on creating the first sleeve. So once you finish and have equal amount of rows on both sides, you're going to chain 1. And now I'm going to fold this over. Like this. So now I'm going to use these loops on the front and the back panels to join the 2 panels together. So I'm going to go into this first loop here. This can be a little bit tricky, but nothing too hard. So that's the first loop, and then I'm going to go into this first loop here on the other panel, and I'm going to join by doing a slip stitch. And then one more time. Again, going through both panels, front and back, and slip stitch that together. So that's all we're gonna do for joining them together. And now we're gonna start working on the sleeve. So we're gonna chain up 5. And I'm gonna place a double crochet into this space. Chain 2, again, double crochet here. Chain 2, another double crochet. And you're gonna do this all the way around the sleeve. So I just worked my way all the way around the sleeve, and now I'm just about to join it together. I have one more double crochet to make, so I'm chaining 2, going into this space, chaining 2 again, and then of this original chain 5, I'm going to count up 3 chains, 1, 2, 3. So it's this one right here. I'm going to slip stitch into that space. Just like that. The last step of row 1 is to place a slip stitch into this first chain 2 space from the previous row. Just like that. And we're going to chain 5 and into the next, place a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and continue doing this all the way around the row. I just finished row 2. I have the one last stitch, so let's do the end of the row together. So place a double crochet, chain 2, slip stitch into the third stitch into the third chain from the chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, and one more slip stitch into the chain 2 space, chain up 5, and another normal row. For row 4, we're going to do the same thing as we did the last 2 rows. And then on row 5, we'll begin increasing to create the bell sleeve. Row 5, we're going to start our increases. So we're going to start as normal, chaining 5. And our normal double crochet in the next chain 2 space. Another normal double crochet, another normal one. So we're going to do 4 normal double crochets, and on the 5th one we're going to increase. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So on this one, on the 5th stitch, we're going to increase. So double crochet, chain 2, and in that same space another double crochet. So let's do that again. 1, my cat, sorry if you can hear him, 2, 3, 4, and now in this 5th one we're going to be increasing. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. So continue doing that, increasing on every 5th stitch. Here's my last increase for row 5. And you can see I still have 2 more chain 2 spaces to work into. So I'm not going to end on it, but that's okay. That doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect like that. So again, close off as normal, chain 2 and slip stitch. And then slip stitch again into the chain 2 space, chain 5. We're going to complete rows 6, 7, and 8 as normally, placing only 1 double crochet in each chain 2 space. I just finished row 8, the third of the 3 normal rows after the increase row. And so now let's get back into creating another increase row. So this time we're going to increase on every 7th stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oops. So we're going to do 1 double crochet, chain 2, and another double crochet. Another 6 normal, and now another increase, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and then 6 more normal stitches. And on the 7th increase, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, all in that same space, and continue on like this for the rest of the row. The rows 10, 11, and 12 are going to be normal rows with only 1 double crochet in each chain 2 space. I'll meet you back here for row 13 for another increase row. I'm now at row 13, and this time we're going to increase on every 9th stitch. So that means 8 normal stitches and then an increase stitch. Here's my 9th stitch. I'm going to do double crochet, chain 2, and another double crochet all in that same space. Continue on 8 normal stitches. And here's my 9th, so I'm going to do an increase. If at any time you get to a point where you're happy with the width of your sleeve, you can just stop doing increase rows and just continue doing normal rows all the way through with just 1 double crochet in each spot. I usually increase on row 13 and then I increase again 1 more time. I'm going to be doing 3 more normal rows with just 1 double crochet in each chain 2 space. So this was row 13, so row 14, 15, and 16 are going to be normal, and row 17 I'm going to be increasing on every 11th stitch. So you can kind of get the pattern here where it's 3 normal rows and then you increase, adding by 2 from the previous increase. So we did 5, every 5th stitch, every 7th stitch, every 9th stitch, and 11th stitch. You can continue doing that pattern for as many times as you'd like until you get the width of your sleeve. I don't like mine to be too wide just because it makes it a little bit less functional, but you can do whatever suits you. I'm back for row 18, and this time we're going to increase on every 11th stitch. Again, if you're happy with the width of your sleeve, you can stop increasing and continue doing normal rows with 1 double crochet in each chain 2 space. So here on my 11th stitch, I did double crochet, chain 2, and another double crochet all in that same space. I'm going to continue repeating that around this row. and I'll meet you back here for the next row. I'm closing off this row, chaining 2, slip stitching into the 3rd, and slip stitching again into the chain 2 space, chaining up 5. And now I'm going to continue going down the rest of the sleeve with normal rows, just 1 double crochet in each chain 2 space. No more increases because I'm happy with the width of this. I don't really want anything too much wider. But if you want to continue to increase, then you can continue the pattern of 3 normal rows and then an increase row. So your next increase would be on every 13th stitch and then every 15th. So yeah, I'll meet you back here for the second sleeve and I'll show you how to get started on this side. I have finished this first sleeve here and now I'm going to start the second sleeve with all of you. And then you can go ahead and rewatch the instructions for this first sleeve because it's just going to be the same. I'm just going to go over how to start it with all of you. I'm going to take my yarn and make a slip knot. Put it on my hook, and then I'm going to go into this corner space right here. Put my hook in it, and then I'm going to go to this other side and go to the same corner space. There we go. And I'm going to slip stitch. And then just like how we started the other sleeve, I'm going to work my way adjoining this first square. So I'm going to go into this next stitch here. And I have one more. So that's what it looks like now. And then I'm going to chain up 5. And double crochet. I'm going to chain 5 and double crochet into this space, chain 2, and then you can go ahead and re-watch the instructions that I did for this sleeve and do the same thing on this side. This is the final product. I'm absolutely in love with how this came out. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer them. If you make this and you use Instagram, tag me on Instagram at Cosmic Crochet, an extra C in the middle. I would love to see all of your creations using this pattern. This is one of my favorites. It just makes me feel like a little fairy. If you want some of my other patterns, I'll link them below. You can find them on my Etsy shop and buy them there. So yes, thank you so much for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed and come back for more.